You're watching The Breakdown with the fight analyst Garrett Kerman.
And welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown. I am the fight analyst Garrett Kerman, and with us on this week's episode is our man, Mr. Colin Crandall, one half of the MMA Power Hour. What's up, man? How's it going?
All good, brother. All good, man. How about yourself?
Absolutely fantastic. And it's so fantastic because we have a little bit of a news here we're dropping for The Breakdown. Moving forward, our man, Mr. Colin Crandall, will be the other half of this breakdown. Each and every week, we will be together breaking down these fights, putting money into your pockets, and cashing out at the ticket window. We are here to help you guys make a ton of money. We're here to give you some great insight because we've been watching these fights for a very long time, and we think we know, a lot about it. And sometimes maybe we'll get a fighter come on and help us, break down these fights as well. But yeah, we're just here to put on a great show and make you guys some money. But before we get to the breakdown, we want to know, how's it going, man? I know it's been a little bit of some time off. We had like 2 weeks that I didn't really do much content. I was just kind of laying low, I was being a little lazy. Shit happens, life happens. But I'm back at it, and just wondering, how's it going? How's life going?
Yeah, we're rocking. We're rocking pretty good, man. I'm gonna go shut one sliding door behind us with what looks like a Christmas outfit behind it.
You're okay, my man. Don't sweat it.
I appreciate it. But anyway, so yeah, it's good, man. Things are good, and life is weird. There's always challenges, but we're always excited when there is a big MMA event coming up on Saturday, a UFC event this time. And, so I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to do this with you every Thursday. I can't wait to bring great content and help put money in people's pockets. And I got to say, I know a lot of you know Garrett and a lot of you know me, but I'm going to let you know that I think I want to put the moniker of BMMA on my, BMM MMA. My boy here, Garrett Kerman, best millennial mind in MMA.
All right.
That's my boy, Garrett.
I like it. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the kind words. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you're sticking around as well. I feel like you bring some great insight into our breakdowns. Very good analytical, and I really like that. And I'm happy to have you on board.
Me too.
I saw you guys had an interview with Matthew Semelsberger. How did that go? It looked like it was a sound interview.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt very good. I always try to put out sound in good interviews, and I succeed once in a while. Sometimes I don't. But yeah, really, really good dude. I just liked him from the get-go. I mean, so many MMA fighters are so respectful and polite anyway, but he even stood out as an MMA fighter that was even more respectful, polite, and a lot good with following up in our conversations before the show. And so I was really anxious to talk to him. Really, really good dude. And I've been following combat sports since before a lot of our viewers were born, and I get a good feeling on the high ceiling that Matthew Semelsberger has. I'm a fan. I think that his last fight could have gone either way against Chaos Williams, and if he had gotten the win, which wouldn't have been ridiculous, he'd be on a 6-fight win streak. But he's on a 5-1 win streak. Really, really talented guy. At 28 years old, he's already so mature and composed and focused. High fight IQ, great conditioning, really strong chin, just a rugged, tough guy, former football player, free safety, I believe. And someone that I was really impressed with, and excuse me, really nice guy, really, really nice guy. And I think he's gonna look really good a week from Saturday against the Nick Diaz student, Martin Sano. It's gonna be interesting to see that fight though, because Sano hasn't fought for 2 years. He only has 6 fights. But Matthew only has 11 fights, I think, or 12. And Diaz brothers are not gonna send someone out who's gonna be complete garbage. So guys got to be pretty good. But I think this is going to be an instance where Matthew Semelsberger shows, hey, don't put guys like that up against me, because I'm just going to step up and I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good fight. I'm definitely looking forward to it. You know, any product coming out of the Diaz Academy over there, you know, it's definitely someone to know about.
Yeah.
They have another fighter coming up as well, fighting next month. The Diaz brothers. I forgot his name. He was on the Contender Series, but
Right. I think I know who you mean.
yeah. But anyways, yeah, they have some great fighters coming out, and I'm looking forward to that fight. Semmelsberger is you know, a tough out for anybody. Dude's huge for the division. He packs some crazy heat in his punches. It's just whether or not he wants to throw the volume. We'll see how that goes. But let's get into this breakdown. We got a 15 fight card coming up. You know, it may take a little bit of a time, but we'll get through this. So just stick with us through this breakdown. We're here to break down every single fight. And get you that
MMA Power Hour little plug. Continue, Garrett.
No worries. Yeah, so we're just here to break down this fight card. I just want to recap my last 2 weeks of fights. Just 2 weeks ago, before the break, I went on a little bit of a heater. We went, I believe, 8-0 on the week. We were 8-0 on the week. 2 fights on the Contender Series and 6 fights on the UFC fight card. Went 8-0 on the week. Unfortunately, I doubled that up with a bad Contender Series week. Gafarov, unfortunately, failed me in the cardio department. He showed that he was a superior fighter, but he didn't have the heart and the cardio to push through it. You know, it is what it is. That's what happens with the Contender Series. Extremely volatile. I got in at minus 280. He ballooned up all the way to minus 600, and he lost. You know, that was the day of the dogs. You bet all the dogs, you would have cashed out tremendously. So, you know, it is what it is. I doubled that up, you know, with the Contender Series this week. We cashed in on Jasmine Vicious. It's very, very hard for me to say that last name.
Definitely a challenging one.
Yeah. She looked impressive. She was starting to fatigue as well. I was this close to losing 2 big bets off of straight cardio, and it just hurts me. Yeah. It's not, you're getting the win correctly. Everybody's doing their job, and then it's just, they can't do much. You know, they can't push through it. It is what it is. But, you know, we cashed out bets on Tuesday, and then we're looking to roll into Saturday with UFC and Bellator. That's right, UFC and Bellator come Saturday night, so there's a lot of money to be made. With that said, let's get the show on the road, and let's start on the prelims. Right now, we have a fight in the strawweight division between Emily Whitmire and Hannah Goldie. Right now, Whitmire is a minus 125 favorite, and the comeback on Hannah Goldie is a plus 105 underdog. Who do you got?
So this is an interesting one. I had Hannah Goldie on the show about 7 or 8 months ago. Nice girl, very, very strong fighter, determined. She had just come up short a few months earlier. A year or so earlier against Miranda Granger, and then was, I think, slight favorite against Diana Belvita. I don't remember a lot about that fight, but I don't think it was really a wipeout or anything. But Hannah, I just think, couldn't really get untracked on that one. And she did lose the decision to Diana Belvita. That was in July. So here we are. It's going to be only a 3-month turnaround, actually slightly less than 3-month turnaround for this fight. She is 5-2, and she was actually 5-0 going into her UFC career, and now is 0-2. She's 29 years old, 5'4", 115 pounds. Emily Whitmire has been around a little bit longer, but only has 1 more fight with the record of 4-4. Obviously, if you're 5-2 and you're 0-2 in the UFC, a loss coming up here could mean the end of your UFC career, because contracts are usually for 3 fights. Emily Whitmire is 4-4, so a loss here makes her 4-5, and she will have lost 3 UFC fights in a row. So we talk sometimes about kind of a loser go home fight or back up against the wall. There isn't any more back up against the wall than both women in this fight, unfortunately.
Right.
And I hate to see people's careers shortened in the UFC or people get booted out. I mean, I don't want people to think that I say this lightly, like it's shits and giggles and like, oh, one girl lose their career. I don't give a shit. Ha ha. Couldn't be the opposite. Couldn't be more opposite of that. I hate to see that. And I would like to see people keep their career that have worked so hard to get there. And I hope this fight is so good that either it's a draw or the winner and loser both keep their career. Anyway, that stated, Emily Whitmire is an inch taller, 5'5", a year older at 30, out of Extreme Couture, having just lost to Amanda Kibas, no shame in that, and to Polyana Viana. She hasn't fought in over a year, though. Emily Whitmire came in with a lot of hype and a lot of excitement around her, and she lost her first UFC fight against Jillian Robertson, no shame in that. She won 2 in a row, and then now has lost 2. I just don't know. I think Hannah, I from having talked to Hannah, she's super cool. I think she's going to fight really hard here, and I would say Hannah Goldie wins this fight in a decision, but I think it's going to be close. And I think the odds right now, that's why I'm looking to the right here, the odds right now of Emily Whitmire being a slight favorite, I think there's some value in Hannah Goldie, although it's nearly a pick-up. But I think it's going to be a decision fight, and I think Hannah Goldie edges it out. I just don't know that I'd put any money on it.
Right. I think this might be the case where I'm gonna bet my strategy that I like to do on some of these, women MMA fights, and that is, in a close fight where I think either fighter could possibly win on a, close split decision type of fight. I like to take the underdog at plus 200 by decision in a fight that I know this fight's guaranteed to go to a decision.
I like that. I like that.
Now you're getting 2-1 odds on a fight that's 50-50. You're basically flipping a coin. You don't know who's going to win. It could be so close that you don't know who the judges are going to give it to. And you're getting 2-1 on one of those fighters. I'll take that all day.
I love that, man. And in all honesty, not to joke you, that's why I think you are one of the, if not the best millennial mind in MMA, is like you picked that play out. I didn't see there was much of any play. But yeah, absolutely. Now I see it and I'm all over that. Yeah.
I'm taking Hannah Goldie by decision at plus 200. I'm getting 2-1 on a fight where I know it's going to be close. Could I lose? Of course I could lose. It's not a slam dunk play. I'm not telling anybody to go run to the bank and throw a ton of money on it, but a little bit goes a long way in a 2-1 spot, especially on a fight that's going to be extremely close. And I think Hannah Goldie can land some takedowns, and I think she's definitely going to be the busier fighter here. She lands almost 4 more strikes per minute than Emily Whitmire does. She gets outstruck by her opponents, Emily Whitmire. So I think Hannah Goldie might be able to just muscle her in there. I mean, she's not that much. Emily Whitmire is not that much bigger than her. Hannah Goldie against Bilbita, she actually had a pretty good, reach advantage, and she was able to keep the distance, throw the kicks, throw the jab, as Hannah Goldie's trying to just come in, with brute force, just trying to get into the clinch. But I think she have a much easier time against Emily Whitmire. I don't think any of her punches are really going to sting. She's not going to be able to make Hannah, take a step back. She's always going to be coming forward. So I think Hannah Goldie wins this fight. I think she finally gets her UFC win under her belt. And I'm getting 2-1 on a decision prop, because all of her fights have won by decision except for one knockout early in her career. Right.
She had one sub as an amateur, but an interesting fact: Emily Whitmire has been subbed 4 times, I think, or 5 times. As a pro.
I can definitely see that, but I feel like I have to play the safe bet and take the decision, because Hannah Goldie has not had a sub yet in her UFC.
Right,
UFC in her career. Yeah. So I think I'll take because the last 5 fights have all gone decision.
Yeah, without a doubt. I do this as kind of makes me more a little bit all over the place as far as betting, but I might do, like, if I was determined to bet maybe like, say, 1 unit on a fight like this, I might do 1/3 of a unit on the underdog Hannah Goldie by decision, 1/3 of a unit on Hannah Goldie by sub, and then 1/3 of a unit on just Hannah Goldie straight.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, sprinkle it a little bit because if Hanagoli wins straight, you're obviously winning 2 out of the 3 bets, so that's not bad at all.
Yep. All right. Next up, let's move on because I know these
All
earlier,
right.
unless
Yes.
some of the more important ones we know you guys want that. The fighters that you know more, we'll talk more about.
That's true. All right. Next up in the men's bantamweight division, we have a fight between Gustavo Lopez and Alateng Haili. I guess I'm saying it right. Alateng is minus 130 favorite in the comeback on Lopez is a plus 110 underdog. Who do you got?
So this is an interesting fight. I believe that we had Gustavo Lopez on the show. No disrespect to him. I may be wrong, but almost 5 years into it, we've done like 200 episodes or more of the MMA Power Hour, each 2 hours, each having 3 guests. In the early days, we had 4 or 5 guests. So I'm starting to occasionally forget if we've had someone on. But I think we have had him on. He looked good beating Anthony Burchett. He in the UFC, the very first fight, talk about unfair. The very first fight in the UFC, he has to fight Merab Dvalishvili. I mean, come on, that's about as being thrown to the wolves as possible. He went the decision. He went the distance with Merab. He beat Anthony Burchak November of last year, and then he got stopped by Adrian Yanez. Now we're starting to see how good Adrian Yanez is, and getting stopped by him is probably what we're going to see a lot, as good as his hands are. But, yeah, Gustavo did get caught in the third, and he was losing the first and the second, really. So it was just kind of finishing touches. Gustavo didn't look great there, but again, we see he was against a great opponent. He's fighting out of Extreme Couture, 32 years old, is a little bit old for a bantamweight where you require so much speed and reflexes. 12-6 record, and in the UFC 1-2 now, which means his back. You know what? Maybe his back isn't against the wall because this could be his new 3-fight contract. I think that's what it is. Either way, though, I think once you lose 3 fights and you've only got 1 win, the UFC could very well cut you. Anyway, that may be the case for Gustavo, so he's going to fight really hard. On the flip side of it, Haili Alateng Haili is out of Beijing, China. You want to know a weird statistic? Before the pandemic, Chinese fighters in the UFC were killing it. They were like winning at a 90% clip. Since the pandemic, they're winning at about a 20% clip. They're just not winning. It's really weird.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, Alateng is 29 years old, a little bit younger. He's out of Fight Ready, which is a good school. 14-8, so the records are similar. His UFC career was looking good. He beat Dana Batgarel, who's a very tough fighter, in his debut 2 years ago. Split decision win over Ryan Benoit. And then Casey Kenny beat him, but he hung in there pretty well. And basically the odds makers are feeling Alateng here, but just barely. You know, to me, this is a no-bet type of a fight. If I had to bet, I would probably bet on a decision, even though these guys do have ability to stop their opponents. I would probably bet on a decision, and I really have no idea who's going to win this fight. I know that that it's probably more important for Gustavo to win because of his record than Alateng. But then again, like I said, Chinese fighters are not doing very well for the last year and a half. I don't know. I guess I'll lean Gustavo Lopez, but was probably going to be a very close fight. But Gustavo's fighting for his career here, and I think I would say if forced, he'll win, and I think it's going to be a decision. What do you think, Garrett Kerman?
Yeah, this is a fight that I really don't want to touch too much on. They're both really good fighters. Alateng, is he's gonna come and stalk you down, move forward, come in your face, throw some heavy hands, heavy hooks. He's also a really good grappler as well. Really good offensive wrestling. He lands over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, which is really good. I think he can exploit Gustavo's takedown defense, which is only about, I think, 50% or so. It's actually takedown defense is actually even worse. Sorry, it's 27%. So that means he's not defending any takedowns whatsoever. So that's a huge red flag. That makes me even like Alateng more in this spot, knowing that Lopez definitely just doesn't defend takedowns whatsoever. So even if he's kind of losing the fight on the feet due to like volume, maybe sometimes, he can easily just take it to the mat and just, keep him there. I kind of like Alateng in this spot. -130 is a decent price. I really do like the odds on him to win by knockout at +333. That's a great line considering 50% of Gustavo's fights have ended in him getting face planted on the canvas. So, he's got knocked out 3 times. He's just coming off a brutal knockout in his last fight. So if he takes one right hook right on the button, I don't know. He could go out. So +333, I think it's a pretty decent spot if you want to throw a little something on this type of fight. I might throw a full unit on Alateng at -130. I think he's definitely the better all-around fighter. I do think Lopez might beat him on. He has the speed advantage, I believe, but I think that speed will eventually slow down midway through the second period there. So yeah, I got Alateng winning this fight. I got him at -130. I like him by knockout +333 as well. So you got 2 big money prop plays in the first 2 fights. All right.
Love it.
Next up, we have a fight in the welterweight division between Impa Kasanganay and Carlston Harris. Right now, Kasanganay is a -120 favorite in the comeback on Carlston Harris is a +100 underdog. What do you got?
So this is an interesting fight. I've got a little bit more clarity, I feel, than in the previous 2. Carlston Harris is 1-0 in the UFC. The man from Guyana called Mocambique is a tough guy out of Reno Bacau fight team. I have no idea who that is. 16-4 record. He's on a 4-fight win streak. He was a decision guy early in his career, but in the second part of his career, or lately, last couple of years, he's been stopping people with strikes, and actually a couple of submissions as well. He's really balanced. He's got actually 4 out of 16 wins. He's got 4 KOs and 5 submissions and 7 decisions. So he kind of spreads the love all around. Lately, though, he's more of a finisher. Second UFC fight, he did put Christian Aguilera to sleep. I don't believe Christian Aguilera, unfortunately, is still in the promotion, though, in the UFC. And his opponent, Impa Kasanganay. Impa was at 185. I don't know if this is going to be his first fight at 70, or maybe the Sasha Palatnikov fight was at 70.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so it's his second fight. He looked great against Sasha with that rear naked choke. And he's definitely a great striker. It's funny, he beat Maki Pitolo as a last-second replacement in a fight that I was in attendance for August of last year, and then came back. It was on the wrong end of a highlight reel knockout by Joaquin Buckley when he grabbed his leg, and Buckley just turned and jumped back, kicked him in the face. That was crazy tough. But Impa has come back and won. Impa is 9-1. Carlston Harris 16-4. This is a good fight. I think Impa wins this fight, and I feel pretty good about that fact that he does. He's a slight favorite. I think there's good value on Impa. And how he's going to win, it's so hard to say. It's probably a decision. But yeah, I like Impa, and I think it's going to be a decision. But I wouldn't say it's anywhere near my best bet of the night. But I do like Impa Kasanganay in this position. I think he's the better fighter, the stronger guy. He's an inch shorter, but I think he's a thicker, bigger man. And I think he is going to put the first UFC loss on Carlston Harris. And that's something I feel pretty confident about.
Man, this is a hard fight to really call. I think, it really depends on if the experience of Carlston Harris is really going to play a factor in this fight against Impa Kasanganay, because he has double the amount of experience, and he's beaten some UFC caliber fighters on the regional scene, like Wellington Turman and Michel Pereira. So he's fought some really good competition, and he's also fought at 185. So he's not a small welterweight by any standards. I know Impa is, big, and he's got muscles on top of muscles, but Carlston Harris is still a big dude. So I think he could handle some of the wrestling that Impa's gonna bring to the table, because we know that Impa's going in there and he's wrestling. We saw what he did against Sasha Palatnikov. He's not gonna want to stand there and try to bang it out, especially after the Buckley fight. And he went to Stanford for a reason to level up in his grappling game. So I feel like he's definitely going to come in grappling heavy. But if you think that Impa can go and just grapple for Carlston Harris for 15 minutes, and he's got the cardio to do it at 170 pounds, yeah, it's definitely possible. Or you could take Carlston Harris to win inside the distance, because I feel like if it goes the distance, we have Impa just taking him down, rinsing, repeating, getting top control, doing enough to win the rounds, and just win on the scorecards. Because I know Impa's got power, but he doesn't want to stand there and get into a firefight to land that power. So he's gonna mix it up, be smarter, use his jab, get in there, get the clinch work, take him down, and just kind of keep him there flat on his back. Or Harris comes in there and just start defensive takedowns. Impa gets tired, then he finishes him on the feet. That's how I feel like either fighter wins this fight. It's very hard for me to really choose a side. I'm kind of tempting to take the under 2.5 rounds at plus 125, since these two guys are finishers. So, either one of these guys can get caught on the feet. Either one of these guys can get submitted. So, and most of these guys, they get a finish. So under 2.5 rounds, I think pretty decent value at plus 125. I'll take that. That would be my bet on this fight.
I like that. Now, since you said he's going to level up, I hope he's not taking that level up challenge. Remember that the girls are doing that level up thing? I wouldn't want to see Impa doing the level up dance challenge. But speaking of which, go back about 2 or 3 years and see Holly Holm with Michelle Watterson.
Yep, I've seen that. Oh, God, that's great.
Awesome, sexy as hell, fun as hell. I've had Michelle on the show several times, and she said like her and Holly are such good buddies, and that is just an awesome video. Level up. I think it got more than 1 million views, a couple million. I think the girl also that released that song, I forget what her name was, the artist, actually contacted Michelle or Anna Holly and said, "Girls, this is freaking sick. I'm going to share it on my own page." So definitely. But yeah, we don't want to see Impa doing the level up dancing with cut off jeans. That's for sure. But fighting though, Impa, I think is what you do best, and that's what we're going to see. And I think you have good insight on that. And remind me again what your key plays were overall.
Yeah, I was just gonna take the under 2.5 rounds at plus 125. I think that's the best value on here. I feel like either one of these guys can get a finish, and we'll see. I mean, it can go to a decision, but it's not something I'm gonna go crazy on. But
understood.
I think it's good value bet right there.
Makes sense. And are you leaning to one guy or the other, or not really?
Nah, man. It's hard for me to really figure out who's gonna win this fight. Like, I know how each fighter is gonna win, but I don't know who's more likely to actually implement that game plan. So
understandable. Cool. All right. Yeah. Next up.
All right. Next up, we have a fight in the women's flyweight division between Erin Blanchfield, the UFC debutante, and Sarah Alper. Right now, Blanchfield is a massive minus 375 favorite, and the comeback on Alper is a plus 280 underdog. Who do you got?
So Sarah Alper's a nice girl. I had her on my show a while back. She had a last-second notice fighting in the UFC, making her UFC debut against Jessie Jess, and that wasn't a good matchup.
That was bad.
Yeah, Jessie Jess was way bigger than her and stronger and more experienced, and definitely got beat up pretty bad. Before that, she was on a 3-fight win streak. So this is going to be her second go in the UFC. I believe she was given more notice here for this fight. She's 30 years old, 5'4" for a. Is this fight going to be a bantamweight or
flyweight?
Good. Okay, because I never listened to bantamweight, but I thought it was fly. So 5'4" for a flyweight still is a little bit short. 30 years old, second UFC fight. First one was a debacle, as mentioned. Erin Blanchfield, cold-blooded, 5'4" as well, just 22 years old, and she was scheduled a few times to fight a few different opponents.
At 135.
Right, and yeah, the fights were called off, which is lucky for her. but she was going to be a big underdog against a couple women at 35. Now she's a huge favorite, and I don't see why, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I think that she's coming off of 3 wins. She did good against Tracy Cortez, who's a really good fighter, a while back, but lost. And then she beat Gabriel Griffin. No one knows who she is. She beat Victoria Leonardo. People who know who she is, but don't care. And then she beat Brogan Walker Sanchez, who's a mediocre fighter.
Yeah, it's also the way she's winning, though. She's actually finished. She's finished, at least 3 of her fights. When you look at Alper, she's not finishing anybody.
Well, but the as far as what I see, she has finished 3 out of her 6 wins. But the last time she finished anyone in her last, she did finish Leonardo. Yeah,
2 of her last 3.
Yeah, 2 of her last 3. 1 by sub, 1 by KO.
And she beat Kay Hansen, Tracy Cortez, Victoria Leonardo, and Brogan Walker Sanchez.
Yeah,
who's also 6'1". I mean 6'1", 6'1". Sorry.
Yeah. The Kay Hansen fight definitely is the most impressive in my opinion on that. I am not going to say Erin Blanchfield won't win this fight. I just don't see the odds meriting that. I think Sarah Alper is way better than she looked in a short notice fight against a bigger Jessie Clark. So I would not lay this chalk on Erin Blanchfield, and I
makes sense.
Would probably only lay a small amount of money on Alper just because the odds are so good. But I'm talking about maybe half a unit or something like that. But no, I think Alper's live in this fight. I wouldn't be shocked if she won. I don't think she's going to get destroyed. I think if people think it's going to look exactly the same as the Jessica Rose Clark fight, don't be mistaken. Don't be surprised when you're really mistaken off that. I'm not saying Sarah will win, but for me, it's dog or pass in this fight. And I think Sarah Alper, straight bet, small amount of money is my play. And that's my thought.
Yeah, I guess I'm higher on Blanchfield than most people. I think she's a really top flight prospect. I think she's got a lot of upside. She's very well rounded. She's got really good striking, really good ground game, good wrestling, very strong. She's decent size, for flyweight division. She's definitely one I've been watching for a while, just like I was watching Miranda Maverick when she was only like 3-0. Knew she was, going to be in the UFC.
I was right there with you then. Yep.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time. I'm like, I knew it right then and there. I'm like, damn, this girl's really good. And I'm like, she's going to be in the UFC. And sure shit, she got the short notice, and there she was. And this is another one with Erin Blanchfield. I thought she was going to be in the UFC for a while now. She fought really good competition outside of the UFC. Coming in with good competition, under your belt is really top notch when you finally get in there and fight people that are really on this level already. So I think she's ready for it. Sarah Alper, she's tough. She comes forward. She's good in the clinch, very strong. She wants to use her grappling, take the fight to the mat like she did against Shayna Young. And she absolutely dominated her, in the grappling department, and eventually finished her by rear naked choke. So, that's exactly what she needs to do here. Because at distance, I think, Blanchfield wins this all day. It's not even going to be remotely close. She uses a ton of leg kicks to keep her at bay. She'll just land everything as Alper's just kind of trying to move forward and, plotting her way forward. Kind of like Victoria Leonardo. They're pretty much kind of very similar in the way they fight. They're very flat-footed. They come forward. They try to get inside the clinch. They try to bully you to the mat and just lay on top of you, wear you out, and eventually get the submission. That's not going to happen against Blanchfield. I think Blanchfield, defends the takedowns, gets off the cage, and gets a finish. I like the finish at plus 200. I think she gets it done. I really do. I think she finishes her.
Very well could be. I guess you could say if you looked at it as a recipe, Erin is going to be trying to blanch Sarah Alper's. You would say nuts, but there's no nuts there. But anyway, never mind that. That's what blanching is for. She's going to try to blanch her face probably and body is what you can say in this one for if you want some dad humor. After all, that's why I'm here. I guess to
yes, you are. You are, man. You're definitely here for the. We're definitely here for the dad jokes. It's definitely a good part of it. You know,
as well as my knowledge in MMA, of course.
Yeah.
Not
I don't know. Maybe the tactics just a little bit.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So I had to throw that in. Anyway, let's get to the next up. Spend less time on these prelims and more on the.
All right. This is. I don't know if it should be a good fight, but it's a fight at 135 pounds between Montel Jackson and JP Bays. Yes, Bays. I actually got that right. Montel Jackson, the minus 650 favorite in the comeback on JP Bays, is a plus 475 underdog. Who do you got?
JP Bays and his wife are both in the UFC. They both made their debut on the same date, March 20th of this year. Both got their asses handed to them.
Ooh, that was bad.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Kind of weird, isn't it? Could you imagine if you and your wife started your MMA career in UFC and both of you got your asses kicked pretty badly?
That's rough.
Yeah, I guess rough. Though at least you have someone to comfort you, and instead of your girlfriend comforting you. And she's a non-fighter, and as she's comforting you, you're thinking, yeah, she's going to be probably going with the next guy who's a winner in the next week. At least you know your wife got her ass kicked as well, so she's not going to leave you because you're a loser. You know, and I'm not calling JP Bays a loser by any means. He did lose that fight. He's a tough guy from South Africa, young guy, 25 years old. Man, is that so young. Bruno Silva's a tough dude who caught him. He is now.
He didn't just catch him. He beat the shit.
He beat the brakes off. Yeah,
it wasn't even close.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's unfortunate. His wife's fight was closer, and she got.
It was.
And she got. Her too. Anyway, the young savage JP Bays is out of Fortis MMA. There's some really tough guys there. They have this fight. The odds makers are really looking at this fight as what they call a crush in pro wrestling.
Oh yeah,
which is a fight where one guy has no chance.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be that way. I had Montel Jackson on my show, and he's a cool dude. He's a very athletic, strong, fast fighter. Has a good record. Came back from his one loss and looked really good. Probably Montel wins this fight. JP Bays though has some chance. Just for shits and giggles, I might put like a quarter of a unit on the dog. And the only other thing I could think of is that you could put some money on Montel Jackson by KO because he has done that a lot. So I would say maybe kind of a hedge bet or a middle, as they say for people that bet sports, game sports. I might put a small amount of money on a straight bet on the dog, and then a small amount of money on the favorite by knockout. What is the prop on that? Or can you see Montel Jackson by knockout?
I don't think that's true. Hold on, let me see. Give me a second. Montel Jackson by knockout. Wow. Wait. Some of them have it at minus 110 and others have it at plus 110.
That's so weird. But either way, it's good. Either way, I know, and so
that's crazy. I thought it should be like a lot higher.
Yeah, you mean a lot less money?
Yes, I'm thinking it should be minus 170.
Yeah. So there's value in that. I'm glad you agree. So that's what I would do. I think will Montel Jackson win this fight? Probably yes. Is it going to be a 100% complete annihilation? I don't think so. Although I do think, like I said, my bets would be a prop since you can get good money on plus 100 something or minus 100 something, depending on which book you're looking for. So Montel Jackson, KO prop, and then small money, and then a small amount of money on JP Bays, straight bet. There's always a chance. You never know what can happen. It is MMA, but that's my thoughts. Curious to see what you feel here.
I just have no fucking clue how JP Bays is going to win this fight. Like, he's not the better wrestler. He's not the better striker. He's not going to land. He's literally going to be at the end of Montel Jackson's punches the entire fight. He's got no chance of getting a takedown. He's got no chance for a submission. He's got no chance of outstriking him. So this is completely going to be a one-sided fight
Yeah, there's just no money. There's just no money to make betting Montel on a straight bet. Sorry,
no, absolutely not. That's why the line is where it is. I mean, you talk about JP Bays, who's fighting at 135, who should not be fighting at 135. He's 5 inches shorter. He's got an 8-inch reach disadvantage. Montel Jackson is one of the biggest 135ers, and then JP Bays is a flyweight coming up. So the size discrepancy is going to be absolutely ridiculous. And you know that Montel is going to be weighing heavier as well coming into the fight.
Just overall bigger and taller and longer.
Yeah. So, and he's just a much better striker. And we saw what Bruno Silva did.
Yeah.
Do we not think that Montel Jackson can't do the same thing? Of course he can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he can do it. I think he did. I like, I like Montel Jackson by knockout, especially if it's at -110 or +100. I'll take that all day. And under 2.5 is at -150. I expect that to hit as well.
Very possible. No argument there.
All right. Next up, we have a fight at 155 pounds between Rong Zhu and UFC debuter on short notice, Brandon Jenkins, who just fought at the PFL and won by flying knee knockout against Jacob Kilburn at +260. Who do you got?
Well, I was going to say, if you think I'm betting on wrong, you're wrong. Seriously, though, wrong. Even though I'm not sure I'm going to completely back that up here. I just had to throw that out. But anyway, look at this. What the hell? So Rong Zhu is fighting in WLF Wars, probably a promotion in China.
Yep.
Until his UFC debut. He's 21 years old. He's a baby. And then he came up against Rodrigo Vargas, probably on short notice, as a lot of these fights have been.
No, that one was scheduled.
Was it? Okay. And Vargas is not absolutely the best fighter in the world either, bro. Vargas was coming off of 2 losses, and he beat Rong Zhu. Rong Zhu is 21 years old, so super young, 5'11", 155, so a decent-sized lightweight. Fighting out of American top team.
He's 5'9".
They got him as 5'11" at Sherdog, but I'll take your word for it. Sherdog is almost always wrong. I'm starting to think Sherdog may be deliberately, purposely wrong because of the fact that so many people in the industry use their site as a reference. Right. I almost think they're purposely doing this. You never know. Anyway, though, so 17-4 though, and he had been on it looks like about a 10 or 11 fight win streak before his loss. ATT, he's got an amazing team there. Dustin Poirier is also a lightweight. He might be training with Poirier there. And so many other great guys. On the flip side of it, Brandon Jenkins is 29 years old. Wow, an age I like better. There's a lot more maturity and physical strength when you're 29 than when you're 21. Anyone knows that, right? So 6 feet tall, 155, training over at Syndicate MMA, a very good school. So we got another ATT versus Syndicate battle. Human highlight reel, interesting dude. He is a 3-fight win streak, like you said, flying knee over Jacob Kilburn. Before that, he was fighting in an organization called Caged Aggression and beat a couple guys there. He fought in the LFA several fights before that, and he was kind of a win one, lose one kind of guy. This is his UFC debut. So, putting it into perspective, you have a guy making his UFC debut going up against a guy who just made his UFC debut and lost. And the odds makers have it big for Rong Zhu. No, they don't. Wait a second.
Yeah, Rong Zhu is a massive
favorite. Because he was supposed to fight Dakota Bush.
Right.
And because the last second.
And mind you, he was an underdog to Dakota Bush, and now you're making him a -350 favorite?
Exactly. And I'm right with you. I'm right with you, Kerm, on that one. It doesn't make any sense. This fight, I could see being nearly even or maybe slight favorite. For
maybe you give him -140, 160.
Yeah. So and I agree. So my first statement actually was correct. If you guys were thinking I'm all on Rong Zhu, you're wrong, and you are wrong. I think I will go. Not that I'm so confident in Brandon Jenkins, but I would put a half a unit or maybe 1 unit on Brandon Jenkins, especially because these odds. I think he has a much better chance than the odds show. I can't think of any prop. I have no idea. I don't think anyone can have a beat on the props in a fight like this. Although Garrett Kerman, if anyone can, my boy here can. I guess he's over that direction. There it is. There. Anyway, mirror images here. I think that all I'm thinking is a small money on the dog, and I think that the dog has a decent chance here. Would not be surprised. I certainly don't think Rong Zhu is going to look like a 4-1 favorite when they're out there throwing punches and fighting in the octagon for sure. So Brandon Jenkins, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on the big underdog here. I love taking big underdogs in spots where they are, undervalued. Jenkins has fought legit competition coming into this fight, so he is battle tested. He has been known to take fights on short notice. He did in the Jacob Kilburg fight that he called, I think, like on a week or two, and he took it, made the weight, and and rest is history. First round knockout, beautiful. Yep. He's normally fighting at 170, so he's gonna be the much bigger fighter here. He's got 3 inches of height, and he's gonna be much thicker. When Rong Zhu wants to go for takedowns, because he had multiple takedowns in his last fight against Vargas, because he didn't want to stand and bang against Vargas. I think Jenkins should be able to defend the takedowns well, be able to keep himself out of range. I know he throws some wild techniques and wild punches sometimes, like the flying knee. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. As long as he just stays out of the reach of Rong Zhu, I think he should be fine, because he's going to throw more volume. And like we said, we're getting plus 260 odds on a fight that's definitely a lot closer than the line suggests. I don't think Rong Zhu should be a minus 350 favorite over anybody. He wasn't fighting anybody decent, on the Asian regional scene. We know how bad the regional scene is over there. And, the first fight he comes in against Vargas, who's a subpar fighter, didn't look good. So I'm taking my shot on the big plus money underdog in Brandon Jenkins.
And with the Chinese fighters not doing that well during the pandemic at all, why not? Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. Brandon Jenkins, let's go underdog.
Let's go. All right, next up, we have a fight in the women's bantamweight division between Pannie Kianzad and Raquel Pennington. Right now, Pennington's a minus 130 favorite, and the comeback on Kianzad is a plus 110 underdog. Who do you got?
So this is an interesting fight. I am excited to see. I love my women's MMA. I've been watching women's MMA for more than a decade before they got into the UFC. Right when I was watching women's MMA, most people that I would run into would say, "Women are in MMA now? Where? How come I haven't heard of that?" Right? And I was watching. So I love it. Big respect to women MMA fighters. Pannie Kianzad is someone that I was impressed with years ago. She fought Tanya Evinger back when Tanya was a beast. She did lose, but she was super young then. She also went right next against the former Raquel Pahalui, now Raquel Canuto, former Invicta champion, who's a beast. She lost to her, and then she went up against Sarah Kaufman, who was a beast back in the day, and lost to her, but she didn't get discouraged. She came back with a couple wins. She was in the Ultimate Fighter finale. She did lose against Macy Chesson, who we know is a very tough fighter. And then since then, she's gone on a streak. Since that Macy Chesson loss, she is 5-1 with her only loss against Julia Avila, and she is on a 4-fight win streak. And she's beat 4 women that are pretty tough. One of them is not so great, but Jessica Rose Clark, tough girl. She beat her. Betch Correa, okay, question mark, but Betch is a strong, rugged girl. Cesar Eubanks is a tough girl. She beat her. And then Alexis Davis, who may be old but still was looking in amazing shape, and she beat her. She's a really good striker. She's learned her ground game a little bit better. She's a Swedish fighter, obviously from a different background. I forget where. I think maybe somewhere in the Soviet Union might be her background, or the Middle East, actually, maybe. But representing and fighting out of Sweden, 29 years old. She's at a great age. She's big for 135, as she was in the Ultimate Fighter at 145 at featherweight, and that's what she lost to Macy Chesson, and she's fought other 145 fights. So on a streak, looking great, just starting her prime at 29 years old. Raquel Pennington is also a big girl for 135. She's the life partner of Tisha Torres, who has been killing it lately. Tisha was on my show. She's an awesome person. and she's really cheering for her girl, Raquel. Raquel is the better grappler, but Raquel at 33 years old is kind of out of her prime at this point, although not by much. Raquel has a lot of miles on her. Wow, look at how many fights did she? Well, 19 fights, although it seems like more because she's been around for many years. She's been in some wars. She did some good winning. She had those weird fights with Holly Holm that she didn't win, although the last one could have been her fight. It was really close. And then she did, not do well against Amanda Nunes, and then Jermaine Durandamy beat her. She did get a close split decision over Irene Aldana 2 years ago, which is very impressive. Then she lost to Holly Holm again, and then she did beat Marion Renault, who was already like 43 years old. So this is a really tough fight. I hate to say it, but this is kind of like a passing of the torch fight if Pannie Kianzad wins. If Pannie Kianzad wins, then you almost feel if you're the Pennington camp, what's your game plan going to be? Because Pannie is tough, but she doesn't look like a world beater and is mostly a striker. And if you can't beat her, you're not going to make a run at the girls that are ranked higher up than her. And at 33, you're probably not going to make a run at all. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But a lot of pressure on Raquel Pennington here. A lot of pressure on the other side on Pannie, though, because in a positive way, she's so close. This would be a huge win for her. This is just another fight for Raquel, but this is a huge fight for Pannie and a huge test for her. And I hope Keisha Torres is not watching, but I think Pannie Kianzad wins this year. Just too young. Her striking's too good. And Raquel is a good wrestler, but one of the problems that a lot of the women have is there aren't really, they didn't have a chance to wrestle in college. There's hardly any women's college wrestling programs, right? And a lot of high school wrestling wasn't that great. It's getting better now because women know that they can get into MMA. But 10 years ago, there was no UFC for women. High school wrestling programs for women weren't that good. I just think Raquel's wrestling is good. If her wrestling was great, elite, if she had Sarah McMahon wrestling, or Tatiana Suarez wrestling, or Carla Esparza wrestling, I think she wins. Don't think she quite has that, and I think that's going to be a big problem. I think Pannie Kianzad, it's in a tough fight. I think Pannie Kianzad just touches her, pieces her up a little bit on the way to a decision win for the Slight Dog Pannie Kianzad. So I'm going to go straight bet Kianzad and no, nothing else. So a straight bet and then a bet that this fight goes to decision. My straight bet Kianzad and the fight goes to decision.
All right. I like it. And it makes sense. Back to my strategy on women's MMA. We are getting Pannie Kianzad by decision. I think I've seen places that are up to plus 200. Other places have it plus 175. But that's my play. I'm not making it any more difficult than that. I think she has a volume advantage here. As long as she keeps it on the feet, she should be the one that's going to be landing more, going to be the more busier fighter. This will be a close fight. And we've seen Pannie win fights that are very close on the judges' scorecards. Just her last fight, Alexis Davis, that fight was extremely close. She won that fight on the judges' scorecards. So I feel confident enough. If this fight is close, Pannie has the work ethic and the volume that the judges like, that will give her the nod over someone like Raquel Pennington. So I'm taking Pannie. I'm taking her to win by decision. I think my book has that plus 175, but anything from 175 upwards of 200, I think you're getting great value for your money. So that's what I'm betting on that fight. Don't want to get too much into it because it's not a fight I'm like severely invested in. I'm just taking that.
I agree.
All right. Next up, we have a fight in the light heavyweight division between Mike Rodriguez and Tafon Nchukwi. Right now, Nchukwi is a minus 125 favorite, and the comeback on Rodriguez is a plus 105 underdog. What do you got?
So, Slow Mike Rodriguez, one of the funnier names for a fighter. Let me ask, Garrett, if you were going to be an MMA fighter, would you pick the nickname Slow? How high would that be on your list of nicknames?
I'm going to go with all the way to the ground.
Yes, exactly. Wait, want to be slow. I can see a slow Colin Crandall. Go in there. There we go. That'd be awesome. But now in my age, it's reality. I used to be so quick, and now I'm like, wait a second, come on, punch. Ah, there you go. It's like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy when they have to run in place before they start running, right? Anyway, I will say Slow Mike Rodriguez is an unusual fighter. He looked pretty good. Look at his UFC career. He loses his first fight to Devin Clark. No shame in that. Beats Adam Milstead as a no contest against John Allen. I believe he had won that fight.
No, I think he lost that fight.
Okay, yeah. You could be right. Yeah. Overturned by the CSEC. So if he lost that fight, then damn.
Yeah, he guys has beaten that fight pretty bad.
Okay, because then he's got a shit ton of losses in his UFC record. Da Un-Jung, he beat Marcin Prachnio, lost to Ed Herman by getting submitted, and then looks like he got put to sleep by Danilo Marquez. So back against the wall for the man they call Slow. God bless him. All respect to you. Next time, pick a better nickname, dude. But anyway, so Slow Mike Rodriguez, 32 years old, 6'3", 205 out of Lausanne MMA. A lot of respect for Joe Lausanne. 11-6, and this fight is at 205 or is this 85?
No, it's 205.
Okay, so that's Mike Rodriguez, and on top of that, Mike is in his 30s. 32 as a light heavyweight. That's not that old. You're kind of in the middle of your prime there, but his record is not good. He does have the UFC fight experience all over the Cameroonian Tefan Chukwi, who has 2 fights. Cameroon, that's originally where our champion Francis Ngannou was from. I wouldn't be surprised if he has some friendship or connection with the Cameroon Express, Tefan and Chukwi. 6 feet, 185, they have him listed, and so it looks like he has some experience at a lower weight and is coming up in weight.
Yeah, he started his career at heavyweight, came down to light heavyweight, then once got into the UFC, came all the way down to middleweight.
Right.
And now he's settling back up to light heavyweight.
Okay, so in his UFC experience, both fights, he's 1-1 were at middleweight. Okay. So he's coming up in weight. He's a thick guy. 6 feet tall is a little bit short for middleweight. Right. Yeah. But I've also noticed that at 6 feet tall, you can get by. You know, once you start getting under 6 feet tall and you're in the heavier weights, it's normally not a good equation. But
I felt like he moved up in weight because it was a detriment to his cardio. I feel like he was cutting too much weight. And maybe that's the reason why he moved back up to 205, where I think he's going to be a lot faster.
Yeah, I would think so too.
And I feel like he's going to be throwing with a lot more intention in this fight.
Yeah, I was going to say if he was 5'11 or 5'10, he would be just at a big disadvantage. But at 6 feet, even like I'm saying, I think he just makes it to where he should be okay at light heavyweight. And I think this is a good first test for him. He's only got 6 fights. Mike Rodriguez has almost triple the fights he has, but he was on a really good streak going into the UFC, 5-0, and loses. And that was actually a majority decision, so he barely lost to Jun Yong Park, and that was at 185 pounds, where he was having problems with his cardio and cutting a lot of weight. So one could say, well, he barely lost to a smaller guy. Now he's got a bigger guy, but the bigger guy he's got is not that good a fighter. I'm all over Tefan and Chukwi here. And I think the odds, I know you showed it in the beginning, but they look like they are about, here they are. Yeah, slight favorite. I think there's great value in Chukwi. Now watch Slow Mike Rodriguez come in there and catch him with a kick to the head because he's 3 inches taller, or a knee or something. Remember, Rodriguez is fighting for his career. And you know what? I remember you and I talked a couple months back about some tips to look out for as a handicapper. And even though it's a little bit reaching to say, well, be careful of guys fighting to not have 3 losses in a row because then they get cut from the UFC. I'm not going to say I use that as a principle, but it does make me a little bit nervous. This would be just the spot that Mike Rodriguez could actually save his UFC career, and you know that's what they're going to be looking for. So because of that, I'm still on Chukwi. But the weirdness of that and the going up to 205 here in the UFC for the first time, even though Nchukwi's been heavier, I'm going to say I'm with Nchukwi. I'm going to go for maybe a half a unit on him, and then I would go for maybe half a unit on Nchukwi by KO or just overall by finish. Or there's good odds on those two.
Spann by knockouts plus 180 or plus 200.
And then just to finish for Spann, you see that?
Well, I mean, if he wins, it's most likely it's going to be a knockout.
You're not right, because he's not a sub guy. Makes it okay. Yeah. So, that's what I would say. I think this is going to be after this. If we see Nchukwi looking good at light heavyweight, I'm going to have a lot more confidence to know how he fits into that division. But right now, I'm a little bit nervous. Like I said, the other man, if Rodriguez loses, he's cut. It's done.
Right.
Unfortunately. So he's going to fight hard. But I got Nchukwi. I would be careful, though, about going heavy on this. My thoughts.
Yeah, it's a tough fight for Spann because he is severely outsized here in terms of height and reach. It's gonna be hard to get inside that reach. I know he's gonna throw a lot of kicks, but I feel like he's gonna eat a lot of jabs. He's gonna eat a lot of straight rights as he's trying to move in because Spann doesn't use a ton of head movement. Definitely does not. He tends to just be flat-footed, come forward, and throw some heavy low kicks. I mean, he's got some massive legs, and that dude whips it. So he's definitely going to be hurting slow Mike Rodriguez. He may make him even slower than he already is, with those nasty leg kicks. And that really, I do think, will be a factor because of how skinny, Mike Rodriguez's legs really are. That could slow him down. That could really hurt him. And then eventually Spann can, finish it that way. But I'm not extremely confident that's going to happen. It's possible that does happen because I can envision it. Or, Mike Rodriguez is able to just pepper in from the outside, make him tired, just trying to come forward and use some knees as he's trying to get inside the clinch and and just wear on him. That's all feasible. I can't figure out which way it's going to work, but I feel a little bit more confident in Spann. I think he's got youth on his side. He's got the power on his side. I think he's got the better technique as well. He was an amateur Muay Thai world champion as well. So he's got a plethora of experience in combat sports. He was even, I think he was a blue belt medalist in the Pan Am Championships at one point. So in jiu-jitsu. So he does have experience everywhere. So it's just whether or not who's going to go in there and do and game plan and execute it better. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not really laying any money on that. I really don't have a side, and none of the props really stand out for me to even try to pick a side. Understood. All right. Next up, we have a fight at 170 pounds, I believe. Yeah, between Nicholas Mota and Cameron Van Camp. Cameron Van Camp took this fight on just a couple of days' notice. Right now, Mota is a minus 280 favorite, and comeback on Van Camp is a plus 220 underdog. Who do you got?
Is that fight still on the card for sure?
For sure, 100%. Or not? Nope. Cancel due to injury. That is just off.
Yep.
And it was at 155.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at Sherdog, and that's one thing they usually don't miss. If something's on the card and they put up a post that shows the card.
Yeah, I know. I just went back to my website, and yeah, it's now off the card. Wow.
The old guy has come in handy for something here.
There you go. That's why you're here. You bring that old, that man stuff. We need
old wisdom, here. The old man wisdom.
Old man wisdom.
Yeah.
Damn, that would. I was on Nicholas Mota there. I thought he was gonna get a knockout.
Yeah, I just have to be able to jump in with something. Is saying with Mota, it made me think that I should get some edibles right after this. You know, remember, Mota doesn't hurt a little bit when you got some joint pain from jiu-jitsu. I was going to say also, one good thing for Mike Rodriguez, if he ever wants to get really better head movement, then kind of hurt your neck like I have a little bit. Because even though I'm not fighting, as you see, I'm moving my head around like that because my neck hurts so bad. So if you hurt your neck, then you'll really get the head movement because it's hard to get comfortable. So there's a little tip, although I don't advocate anyone purposely hurting their neck because it's really no fun. Anyway, enough of that. So now that that fight is over and everyone can go smoke a little mota or take some edibles and enjoy the rest of our show, continue on with the next matchup. And who do we have here, fight analyst?
Yes, we are in the middleweight division between Joaquin Buckley and Antonio Arroyo. Right now, Buckley's a minus 220 favorite, and the comeback on Arroyo is a plus 176 underdog. Who do you got?
Gotcha. Joaquin Buckley fighting over in Michigan at Murcielago MMA. I think some of these guys there, are traveling to the West Coast, and I think one or two of them also are welcome at Extreme Couture or somewhere else.
Buckley came down here to MMA Masters to do some of his training this time.
Okay, right, because I know they're moving around because Murcielago is not a really big school, but it's a great school. You got Kalen Williams, Buckley, and Daquan Townsend. My friend, the catch wrestling champion, Curran Jacobs, who's an undefeated MMA fighter, is over there, and he was formerly the captain of Michigan State Spartans D1 wrestling, and he was really helping a lot of these good strikers with wrestling, but he's been injured, actually. And I noticed when he was around there in 2020, these guys stayed over there. But when he hasn't been able to help train these guys, some of these guys are going somewhere else to get their grappling, and it makes sense because Curran's awesome. But when there's no Curran, you got to get some grappling somewhere. Joaquin Buckley, double tough dude, New Mansa, they call him, and he is a short middleweight, a la Hector Lombard or Husamar Polaris, 5'8" at 185, but he is thick, powerful, strong guy, athletic guy, only 27 years old, and he already has 4 UFC fights under his belt. He's 2-2. He lost to Kevin Holland in a fight he was doing pretty good at back when Kevin was absolutely killing it. He came back and completely starched him, but Kansangane with that highlight reel kick. He came and beat the Beverly Hills Ninja, Jordan Wright, who has since come back and looked great. And then he did get caught by Alessio Di Chirico, who's not that great a fighter. And I think were they to face each other 10 times, Buckley would win 9 out of 10. But he just got caught. I don't think he was expecting a kick to the head by Di Chirico. So he's going to be angry. Us Michigan guys have a lot of pride. And a lot of people can say, just screw it when you get embarrassed on a national stage. I don't think Joaquin Buckley is one of those guys. I fear for his next opponent, and because Buckley is going to be freaking angry, and he's going to go in there to make a statement. And Antonio Arroyo, as they pronounce it.
Arroyo.
Yep, Arroyo is probably not in the good position here, and Arroyo is 0-2 in his UFC career. So actually, should he lose this, he's probably cut, because then he'll have gone 0-3. He's fighting out of Marajo Brothers team, taller guy, 6 foot tall. He's got a 4-inch height advantage. Definitely, I'm sure, a little bit of a reach advantage, I would think, against Buckley. He's 9-4, but 0-2 in the UFC. He was on a great win streak fighting. He actually had to fight in the two Dana White Contender Series. The first one he won in 2018 by decision, and that didn't get him in. And the second one in 2019, the arm triangle choked someone named Stefan Regman, but lost by decision to Muniz and to Duran Wynn. No shame, Duran Wynn was motivated as hell.
No. That is a shame. You are almost a foot taller than your opponent, and you lose.
Yeah.
There is a ton of shame in losing that fight. You should be shamed for the rest of your career.
Life, yeah. I mean, if Duran Wynn was just a turd of a fighter, I would say yes. But Duran Wynn is an 8.
Yes, no, he's like Duran Wynn is a great fighter. Don't get me wrong. But you are almost a foot taller than this man. Yeah. All right. You're half a foot taller than him, and you have no idea how to use your reach.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, Arroyo doesn't seem like a super high IQ fighter. And
not at all.
Yeah, this is probably going to be 3 and out for him. Buckley, what are the odds here? Buckley is
minus 220.
Yeah.
I don't like the juice.
Yeah, it's a lot of juice. It's a lot of chalk to lay on Buckley.
Especially after what happened.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But I think
I don't want that to happen again.
Yeah. I think Buckley wins this. How many times has his opponent been stopped? You know what? The only times his opponent's been stopped, and out of his 4 losses,
it's by submission.
2 were subs, right, and 2 were decisions. So it looks like he has enough head movement not to be knocked out. Although he does like to mix it up. You know what, though? Even if someone hasn't been stopped before, when you got a guy like Joaquin Buckley, you get stopped. And so I would say I would put a little bit of money, maybe half a unit on Buckley in a straight bet, although it's laying a lot of chalk, but I still think there's some value. And then maybe half a unit on Buckley by TKO KO. What would the odds on that be? I'm curious for the prop.
I think KO is like plus 100.
Wow, that's it. Well, it's better than laying minus 220. So those would be my 2 plays. How about you?
Yeah. I would need a little bit better of a line on Buckley KO for me to to really snag that. And I really don't like his line of minus 220, but I do think he beats, Ahoyo. I would never trust my money on Ahoyo ever again.
No.
Losing to Andre Muniz, to someone who you could beat, you didn't. You lose to a guy that you're half a foot taller against. You had no idea how to use your length and reach advantage. You have a length and reach advantage here, but you're telling me you can't use that advantage. So you're gonna let Buckley just come and stalk you, walk you down, and get in your face, throw bombs, and land on you. Yeah. So I do think Buckley wins. But is there an off chance that he could get caught again? Yeah, that's why I would not lay minus 220 on him, even though this would be a very easy fight for Buckley.
I think it will be. I don't think he'll get caught again, but I respect your thinking that he might, and he could. But I
don't think he gets caught either. It's just when someone loses that emphatically against a guy that never gets knockouts, right, and then you see him again as a minus 200 favorite.
Yeah, it's a weird look. Yeah, it's a weird look.
Against a guy that kicks. Against a guy that kicks, too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, we'll see. It's definitely not a fight that I want to go and run and put a bunch of money on.
Sure.
So
no, for sure.
All right, next up, we have a fight in the men's bantamweight division between Joseph Manis and Tony Gravely. Right now, Gravely is a minus 225 favorite in the comeback on Manis is a plus 180 underdog. What do you got?
Gotcha. So Joseph Manis, I know normally it goes by Nathan Manis.
It says Joseph on UFC for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird. And Sure Dog is Nathan. I think maybe he goes by both, but nevertheless, Mayhem is his nickname.
We'll go with it. Mayhem Manis.
Yeah, Mayhem Madness. Mayhem Madness instead of Madness, right? 30 years old, 5'10", one. That's so weird. They list him as 140 pounds on Sure Dog. This is a bantamweight or a featherweight fight?
No, it's a bantamweight.
Bantamweight fight. Okay. So Madness says 13-1. He's a double tough dude. He came out of the TKO organization in Canada, looking really good. He lost his last fight, and then he went over to some other place called Hard Rock MMA, and he won. And he gets into the UFC against Johnny Munoz Jr. Wins the decision. And this is August of last year. Then in November of last year, he gets a rear naked choke against Luke Sanders. You know what? I think there may be 2 Madness brothers. That's really weird. But anyway, I think maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking someone else.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is weird because he's 13-1 and 2-0 in the UFC. Yet he's a 3-1 dog. But anyway, let's speak. And he's 5'10" at this is bantamweight, you said, or feather?
Bantamweight.
He's 5'10" at 135. He's a freaking huge bantamweight, and that's why they have him at 140, because he's probably fought at feather. So let's look at Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely was on my show about a year ago. Really good dude, really smart guy, great interview. He's out of Redford, Virginia, White Elephant Fight Club. A lot short.
American top team.
ATT now good. That's good. I was thinking another.
That's why he's been as good as he's been.
Yeah, ATT. And they have him a White Elephant. They might have called it Jackass Club or whatever. You know, thank you, Sure Dogs. Go ahead.
Right after he lost against Brett Johns is when he made the trip down to ATT.
Good. That makes sense because he's a really good prospect out of ATT. A good record, 21-6. He is only 29 years old and he's got 27 MMA fights. What the hell?
Yeah.
But very
against really good competition too.
Yes, I see. He's in LFA. He was in CES, both great organizations. Dana White Contender Series. He did lose his debut against Brett Johns, getting caught, and then he came back and did get by Gerardo De Freitas Jr., who's a tough dude, and then did stop Anthony Burchak. I like Tony Gravely, but what is up with the line? Let me see here. The line again is where the hell is it?
Minus 225 for Gravely.
Yeah, and it used to not be. Only a couple days ago, he was at minus 177, minus 188, minus 200. So late money is coming in. I think it's what's called an overlay. The odds makers, I think, don't think he's minus 225, but they set the line, and a lot of action is coming in on Gravely. I like Tony. He's a tough dude. I just this is a tough fight, and it's kind of an X Factor fight. And in all honesty, Nathan Maness is a double tough dude. Yeah. I honestly think that there's value in the dog here. To me, it'd be a dog or pass. I don't want to lay that chalk on Gravely, but they're both double tough dudes, and I think that let me see how many subs Maness has. Somewhat, not a lot. Yeah, I think that what I would be doing is throwing maybe half a unit because this is such a tough fight on the dog on Maness. I think he has a decent chance, and then maybe just that the fight goes to decision, that it goes to distance would be my thoughts as far as bets. But man, I think it's a good fight. I think Maness is in this fight. I don't know. I just think that I think either late money comes in on Maness, in which case if you like him, bet now, or he's just being overlooked here for some reason. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great fight. I've been a fan of Gravely for quite some time now. I knew he was UFC bound for a while, and I knew he'd be as good as he was. I bet on him every single fight. I bet on him against Brett Johns and that loss. And I bet on him every single fight after that. I bet him on the Contender Series as well. High level wrestler, extreme high level wrestler. Very good ground and pound. He's got actually some decent hands too. He's got some power in his hands. He showed that in the Anthony Burchak fight. And he's not afraid of these tall guys because he went in there. He went to war with De Freitas, who's also a very tall bantamweight as well. He's always used to being the shorter guy. I do think he wins this fight. I think he's the better all-around fighter. I know he's gonna have some trouble. I feel like Maness is gonna land some shots. He might hurt him a little bit as he's coming in. It's definitely possible. I can kind of see it happening. It might be a little bit of sweat. I don't think he's worth minus 225. I'm not gonna bet this fight. I do think Gravely wins. But I don't like that line of minus 225. It's going to be a very close fight. If he was at minus 170, I probably would have played it. Minus 225, I just can't lay that price, and I don't feel confident enough to bet Maness at plus 180. I would need a bit of a better of a price for me to go and lay, and just take the dog outright. Especially against somebody I really like, and I do feel, is a really good fighter and is a future top 10 contender. I can't go against him either.
Yeah, understood.
All right. Next up, we have a fight in the welterweight division between Arman Tsarukyan and Christos Giagos. Right now, Tsarukyan is the biggest favorite on the card at minus 800. And the comeback on Giagos is a plus 550 underdog. What do you got?
So I wonder, Garrett, imagine if you're an MMA fighter and you're a good one and you have a record of 19-8, but in your last 10 fights, you're 7-3, right? and you're 4-2 in the UFC. You know, right? So you're doing well. And all of a sudden someone says, oh man, your next fight, you are done. You're getting squashed. You don't have a chance. You're going to be like a sacrificial lamb. You're going to be like a lamb being led to slaughter because this guy's going to beat you so badly and so easily, right? What do you think of that? You got to be thinking like, what the hell? What the hell, dude? Are you high telling me that? Why would you think that? I can fight. I can fight. What the F, right? So
Right.
I would imagine that's probably what he's thinking. He's probably thinking, really, seriously, you make me a 7-1 dog when I can fight? Screw you, you know. So I think he's probably planning on showing up, is what I'm saying. He's probably planning on showing up, and he's planning on letting people know, don't make me a 7-1 dog, you know, in the UFC fight because I can fight. Now, that stated, the man he's fighting is legit. Sarukian is the only dude really that has made Islam Makhachev struggle.
Right.
And that says a lot, right? Because Makhachev is a killer, and Sarukian literally, like, you know, backed him off. I was like, yeah, you're not dominating me. You're not going to look like a killer here because I'm a killer. So check it. And that was serious. And that's partially why the line is like this. But, you know, you got Black House. Giagos has so many great fighters there. And he's 31 years old, so a little bit old at lightweight, but still in the tail end of his prime, maybe another year or so. In the UFC, he did lose to Drakkar Klose, and Drakkar Klose is really tough. And that was 2 years ago. Since then, he beat Carlton Minus, but Minus's skills were so minus. He minus his way out of the promotion. And he's not in the UFC anymore. A friend of mine saw Carlton Minus. I think he wore a Speedo for one of his fights or something. And they said he reminded him of Show Me Carter back in the day, or of our friend Tony going out to there's a pool in his apartment for a dip. You know, especially with the body with no muscle on it, like Carlton Minus. All respect, because Carlton Minus would beat me in about 8 seconds, but I'm old and not a fighter. Anyway, so that fight, I don't give a lot of credibility to that one. I mean, not credibility. It happened, but I don't give a lot of weight to that. Sean Soriano, he caught him in a Braybo choke, and that was my teacher.
He was getting his ass beat in that first round, though.
Yes, Soriano. And Soriano's a pretty tough dude.
And on short notice, though.
It was. And it was his debut, right?
Right.
So in all honesty, these 2 wins from Giagos aren't that great. No. That is why the odds makers have this fight like that. Now, on the flip side of it, so we have 31 years old, a 5'10" lightweight in Giagos. On the flip side of it, Sarukian is, wow, he's only 24 years old.
Yeah, he's that good. That's crazy.
He's that good. 5'9", 155, out of Russia, 16-2 record. Other than losing to Makhachev, he's won like 14 fights in a row. And he went the distance to actually doing some damage in that Makhachev fight. He beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier. He beat Davi Hamosh. That was impressive because Hamosh was on a real good streak then. And then he beat Matt Frivola, who was on my show, who was a real tough guy.
Yeah, those are very, very impressive wins.
Those are big impressive wins as opposed to what Giagos has. I will tell you this, though. In all honesty, Sarukian's a tough guy, but I'm not laying, freaking 10-1 odds chalk on him. I don't like to lay that on anyone. And although it may be merited here, but no, I'm not laying in a 24-year-old guy. I mean, the good thing about him at 24 is he's probably not going to incur too many training injuries because he's still so young and fresh. But the bad thing is he's so young, immaturity. If something happens, if his girlfriend broke up with him, he might be in a bad state of mind. I don't love betting on guys under 26 years old. But probably he wins. I think Giagos is like of a Greek background, And the Greek people are really tough warriors, really friendly, nice people, but really big heart and very determined. So I think Giagos probably loses, but I don't think he gets smashed. And I might put a half a unit on Giagos, and that's probably it. Although I could see a prop of Sarukian winning by. But Sarukian actually doesn't. He's got a lot of decisions on his record.
He's got 10 wins by inside the distance and 5 wins by decision.
By decision, right? So, but when he stops people, it's more by sub.
It's 5 and 5. It's split down the middle.
Okay. And then the only losses, let me see, one by sub and another by sub and then another by sub. Yeah, you know what? What do you call them? Can be sub. So what I would, I would say if anything, I would do another kind of an hour bet or a hedge or middle bet. I would put a half a unit on the dog, straight bet, and then I would put a half a unit on a proposition. Either that would say Sarukian wins inside the distance.
Yeah, makes sense.
Those would be my thoughts. I'm curious to hear your feelings.
Yeah, I think he absolutely goes in there and starches and starches his man Giagos, especially after that last fight and how he got tagged a ton against Soriano and how he was pretty much out of gas in that first round. If you're out of gas at all against Sarukian, he's going to make you pay for it, and he will keep up that high pace for all 3 rounds. So you can't get tired at any given time because he will eventually drown you. And you're just going to quit. And I see that kind of happening. I think Sarukian finishes him eventually, clips him, and just puts him away. I got Sarukian to win inside the distance plus 160. I think that's a pretty good line there. It's the only way I would bet Sarukian. I think he gets the finish. And he finally gets his first finish in the UFC too as well.
Very possible.
All right, let's move on to the next fight. We're not going to talk too much about this one, but it's a fight in the women's flyweight division between Ariane Lipski and Mandy Bone, UFC debuter. Right now, Lipski's a minus 120 favorite, and the comeback on Bone is a plus 100 underdog. What do you got?
Right. I just don't see how this could be the co-main.
Right. The featured bout on the main card. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know. But Queen of Violence, Ariane Lipski, is a good-looking girl. That doesn't mean a lick of difference in her fighting skills and how this fight goes, but she's a very promotable girl, very attractive woman, and seems to be pretty classy in how she conducts herself. She's 27 years old, which is very young, not even quite in her prime yet, but she's already got 20 fights at 27 years old, and she's already got 7 losses. In the UFC, she came in just 2 years ago. She's had 6 fights in the UFC in 2 years. She came in and lost to Joanne Calderwood. No shame in that. She lost to Molly McCann. Not that much shame in that, but Molly's maybe not a top girl, but she looked good in her last fight. She came back and she beat someone that I don't think anyone's heard of, Isabella Di Padua. And then she beat Luana Carolina with a slick armbar. She's got some subs. She got the break speed off her by Antonio Shevchenko, who's not that great a fighter. And then she did get stopped and brutalized by Montana De La Rosa, who was on my show with her husband about a year ago. Really likable, easygoing girl. She's one of these kind of tall, lanky, kind of shy, quiet women, which is pretty cool that she's a fighter, because a lot of these girls are not fighters that are like that lanky, shy, quiet type. But I was so happy for Montana De La Rosa. She needed to win convincingly. And I think I said, I don't know if I was breaking it down with you or a friend before that fight, and I said, someone's got to light a fire under Montana De La Rosa. She needs to go and beat the brakes off this girl. And she did. So Ariane Lipski is coming off of that. She's 2-4 in the UFC. That's not a good look. And the only thing I can say is if she was signed to 2-3 fight contracts, then she's actually just into her new contract. Although I believe UFC can cut you anytime they want. So she's in trouble here if she loses. And then she's going up against a pro debuter. Sorry, not pro, UFC debuter who's 7-0. She fought in an organization in Germany. Most of her fights, 5 fights, and then she went over to the TKO organization in Canada and won by a submission against the girl no one's heard of, Jade Masson Wong. And then she came over to Bellator and was on the Jackson versus Keelholz card a year ago and did beat someone named Griet Eekhout that no one's heard of. This is a complete X Factor fight. This is going to be the first fight tonight that I would say I'm not going to put any money on. There's no read on this. You have a girl who's about to be cut from the promotion who has good looks, and that's about it. And maybe a sub if she's against a girl who isn't very good, against a girl who has fought nobody and is undefeated out of Germany. If I was pushed, I would lean Lipsky because she's fighting for her career. And this chick is at 32 in the flyweight division, making her UFC debut. Even the women's flyweight division, that's not that good. I could almost see her being brought in for Lipsky to be able to beat. And I think that might be the plan that Lipsky beat side of this.
I think it's the opposite. I think they're bringing her in to give her an easy win against Ariane Lipsky because Lipsky can't defend takedowns. They know that Lipsky is not going to be anything in the UFC because she can't defend takedowns. I know she's down here at America Top Team, but one camp is not going to get you good enough to defend takedowns at all.
Although she's got subs from her back, remember, although not that often.
Right, but the chance of that happening against somebody who is a grappler and who's more well-versed on the mat than she is going to get caught in it. Right. And that last submission that she had against Carolina had any ounce of jiu-jitsu. She had her back. She had to sit up and get her back. She couldn't, because she has no jiu-jitsu. She's a striker. So, that submission wasn't all that impressive because she literally anybody probably could have done that to her. So it's pretty much, can Lipsky defend the takedowns or she can't? That's pretty much the gist of it. And I don't think, she's just an overwhelming striker on the feet regardless. So it's not like, I don't think she's gonna blow her away on the feet. I think it will be a little bit close. Yeah, I do think she might edge it a little bit on the feet, but the X factor is a grappling, and I think
she's out of SBC Ireland. That's one thing I just noticed. She's out of Conor McGregor's gym. Nowadays, that doesn't mean as much as it used to, but
right. I don't think he trains there anymore, but yeah,
probably not. Yeah, but there's some good guys there. I think he established a place that a lot of good guys in Europe wanted to go to based on who he was. So, but yeah. So go ahead. So finishing it off.
Yeah, I'm just thinking probably would play, Boom by decision plus 190 and sprinkle a little bit on the submission prop up plus 900.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's plus 900 submission anyone or submission Boom?
No, that's submission for Boom plus 900. I don't see how, that. I mean, that could definitely hit. I don't see why that's not a lot closer, considering I know Lipsky doesn't get subbed a lot, but she gets taken down. And then eventually, Boom will get her back, which is her specialty. And then I think she'll be able to sink in the ring.
Right. All she's got to do is come in there and drop the Boom on Ariane Lipsky, right? Boom.
All right. Let's move on to the co-main. So we get this breakdown ended for you. I know we're at an hour and 30, but we're trying to get it all in for you guys. All right. Next up on our co-main event is a fight in the light heavyweight division between Ian Kuchalaba and Devin Clark. Yes. Kuchalaba is a minus 150 favorite in the comeback on Clark's a plus 125 underdog. What do you got?
So Kuchalaba is from the Republic of Moldova, where I think Sergey Spivak is from. There are a few fighters coming out of these Eastern Bloc countries. I remember I had a friend who was from the Eastern Bloc, and I think it was a dozen years ago or so. I was surprised to hear of these different countries, and I'm like, how the hell is it that I haven't heard of these countries? And he said they've just become countries like 2 years ago. They were a part of the Soviet Union, and then they were just like a territory as part of Russia, and then like they have their own state. So I think Moldova has only been around for maybe 15 years or years. Anyway, nevertheless, Ion or Yuan, sometimes they're calling him, Cutelaba, is a tough, crazy guy. He did come up and meet his match against what's his name, the Russian. There it is, right there, Magomed Ankalaev. But Magomed Ankalaev is for real, man. That guy's like he's like a jumbo-sized version of Zabit Magomed Sharapov.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm at 205, I'm hoping that people don't match me up with Magomed Ankalaev. That guy,
no.
yeah, you don't want to fight that guy. Trust me. Anyway, and Cutelaba, well, he did get stopped both times in the first round, but he was throwing, and the first fight was kind of controversial. Anyway, he came back against a guy I've had on the show a couple times that I like a lot, the Hanyak, Dustin Jacoby. And that fight was a draw, and Jacoby is really good. And Cutelaba was actually taking him down. Jacoby is more of a striker, but Cutelaba really also primarily a striker, but he looks like he practices wrestling and was able to do some good wrestling against Jacoby. And getting a draw against Dustin Jacoby is actually a pretty good look, because Jacoby is a really, really talented guy. He is 27 years old only, and he's got 21 fights. What is it with these young guys having more than 20 fights? I think it's a good thing, though. He just fought in May, so it's a really good turnaround. That's like June, July, August, September. 4 months gives your body a chance to rest and heal up, but not so long that you're rusty. And he is an amazing fighter. 27, Devin Clark, he's 6'1". Devin Clark, shorter at 6 feet even, and he is out of Jackson Wink. He's a tough guy, a really good dude, a little older, 4 years older at 31. The Brown Bear is a tough guy. He did come up short against Anthony Smith. Everything was on the line for Anthony Smith in that fight, remember. Had he lost, they probably would have said, please, we want you on the desk doing commentary and analysis, and you're not fighting anymore. So that fight saved Anthony Smith's career. He looked like his experience and his length was too much for Devin Clark, and that was about 6 months ago, 7 months ago now. No, more than that. It was about 10 months ago. So a long time for Devin Clark to think about it and to revamp his skills, although I don't know how much you can do in 10 months. What are the odds on that? The odds on that are pretty close, aren't they? Cutelaba, yeah, about minus 140, 150, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the line is right. I think that they both need the win here. And 2-1. They both had a lot of UFC fights, and Devin Clark had a 2-fight win streak going and then lost. So he's like win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win a couple, lose one. And Cutelaba Cutelaba hasn't had a win since 2018. They both really need this win. So I'm gonna go on record here saying that's gonna be an action fight. I hate to say it because I've talked to Devin several times and he's a great dude, but Cutelaba probably wins this fight. I feel like if I was forced, I would probably do a straight bet on Cutelaba. I think probably the fight doesn't go the distance. These are big men and are strong, and they're going to be fighting really hard here to make a good impression on UFC matchmakers.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a tough fight. I feel like, it really boils down to Devin Clark's chin. If he can really withstand the punishment it's going to take in round 1. If he could hold up, he's got a chance from rounds 2 and 3. We've seen
he's the better wrestler. He is the better wrestler. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. So he's not going to get taken down, or he will defend takedowns. He will get back up, whatever the case may be. It just boils down to that chin, because that chin is going to get hit. And if he's able to get out of round 1, his chances of winning, increase dramatically. So the way I'm going about trying to bet this fight is to take Cutelaba by KO round 1, which should be around plus 250 to plus 300.
Gotta be.
So I'm going to take that. And then if that doesn't happen, I would live bet Devin Clark by just bet him. He should be at least close to even or plus money because he probably lost the first round.
Right. That makes sense. I like that.
I feel like that's the best way to bet this fight. Yeah, because I really don't like the lines at either side. I think it should be more of a pick'em fight, minus 110, minus 120. So, but yeah, I feel like Cutelaba is gonna win. If he's gonna win, it's gonna be in round 1. Or if Devin Clark wins, he survives round 1, and then he's able to take over, get the takedowns, wear on him, and just gas him out.
Makes sense. So Cutelaba early, Clark late.
Yeah, pretty much. Because Clark can definitely get it finished late. If he's on the ground and he really can't get back up, he's just raining down, some ground and pound and just being busier.
Yeah, better cardio. Maybe Cutelaba's cardio is a little bit questionable.
Yeah. All right. So we're up to our main event of the evening at 205 pounds of light heavyweight division between Anthony Lionheart Smith and Ryan Superman Spann. Right now, Anthony Smith is a minus 165 favorite, and the comeback on Ryan Spann is a plus 135 underdog. Who do you got?
All right. First, I'll say it's time for the main event of the evening with the fight analyst Garrett Kerman and Colin Crandall, MMA Power Hour host. This is going to be amazing. Don't miss out. Call your friends. Oh, wait a second. Good. Everyone's in the room. Excellent. So we have a really interesting fight here. The aforementioned Anthony Lionheart Smith and Ryan Spann, both tall, lanky dudes. Let's take a look at Lionheart. 33 years old. The man has 51 fights. Who has 51 fights nowadays in MMA? Nobody except Lionheart and maybe the Russian you always mentioned, Olenek or whatever. Yeah. 33 years old, Factory X. Got the brakes beaten off of him by Glover Teixeira and Alexander Rakic, but there's not a lot of shame in that unless you were hoping to maybe be a contender for the title anytime soon, and that's not the case now. I think for Lionheart, I'm sure he was hoping, but that he's not there. He may never be there. Nevertheless, he comes back, a solid win over Devin Clark, but more importantly, just 5 months ago, an amazingly solid win against Jimmy Crute. He did the same thing to Devin Clark that he did against Crute. The difference is he used his length and size and against Clark, and against Crute, it was his experience, just his being the much more seasoned veteran. He was taking some shots, but then finished off with some amazingly good stuff to get a TKO over Jimmy Crute. Now, does that say we could put him up against Alexander Rakic and Glover Teixeira and he beats them? No, I don't think so. But he's definitely back on track, and a lot of people are happy. Lionheart's a cool dude and a nice guy. 33 years old. On the other side, he is 6'4". On the other side, Ryan Spann, many less fights, 19-6, but still 25 fights is good. He's 30 years old, so he's 3 years younger. 6'5", an inch taller, from a great school. We got Factory X against Fortis MMA. Always a great battle between those two schools. Ryan Spann, Superman, and a great team over there at Fortis. He did have a blip in the radar against Johnny Walker, got caught a year ago against Walker, came back and stopped a very tough Misha Serkinov, although Serkinov, I think, was a little bit compromised at that point, having had his chin checked a little bit, but was still a tough dude. But look at all these other great fights prior to that. In the UFC, he beat Luis Enrique Barbosa de Oliveira. I don't know who that is, but he beat him. Then he did beat a very over-the-hill Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, stopping him, and Nogueira's always tough. He did beat Devin Clark by subbing him. He did get a split over Sam Alvey, which a bunch of people felt Sam Alvey should have won. So you know what? That isn't all that amazing now that I read the stats that way. 3 years younger, but it's an important 3 years. Spann is 30 and could even closer to 4 years. 33 for Lionheart. This is a weird fight. The odds makers are feeling Smith. I don't know. Smith probably, but I just think if Smith starts getting pieced up, I don't know. I don't get a real good read on this fight, but I do know it's an extremely important fight for both guys. I would take the dog here. I don't get, I really was hoping to find some fights that I felt tremendous confidence for you guys in this card, and Garrett can tell you there's a lot of cards that I do. This isn't one of them. So once again, I'm probably talking a half a unit on the underdog Ryan Spann. Then maybe the fight doesn't go the distance would be my next bet. But I am definitely dying to hear this breakdown from my good friend Garrett Kerman, the fight analyst. Tell me what you feel here, Garrett.
Well, this is going to be I think it's going to be a good fight. I think, these guys are going to come and throw down. That they're all action fighters. Anthony Smith is not going to back down to anybody. And Ryan Spann will be in your face as well. And when I think about it, I think, Lionheart, Anthony Smith is the better fighter, arguably everywhere this fight takes place, whether it's on the feet, whether it's in the grappling, on the mat, everything. I think he's the far better fighter, but the line doesn't indicate that they think that he's that much better.
Right.
Leads me to believe why. I mean, he's fought the better competition. He's beaten the better competition. He's fought for the title. And he's fought, a hard fight against John Jones. He hasn't been finished since Thiago Santos by knockout. I mean, he's the only guy that's really been put him away. And that was at 185. But the line is still minus 165 and plus 135. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. And when a line doesn't make sense, that's when you're like,
be careful.
Let me step back.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, there's something in my gut that tells me that Spann beats Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
And finishes him inside the distance as well. Because Anthony Smith's already talking about, I don't feel like fighting the rest of the year. He's like, I'm looking at if I'm going to fight again, it'll be like February. I'm like, all right, so you got other shit going on other than fighting. Yeah. You got money stocked away, which is always great. That's what every fighter should be doing. But he's not fighting he's not as hungry, right? Yeah. He's not as hungry anymore.
And I think Spann is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. And Spann, I don't know if you listened to his interviews this week. He's talking about how hungry he is, how he's changed everything. You have to take that with a grain of salt because people they just say shit.
Right. But he's a younger fighter and he's more of a winning fighter by far. I think that might be affecting the odds here. All he has is one loss, whereas what is it? Smith loss. So many more losses. Sorry to interrupt your flow, but that might be part of why I think the odds makers are looking at it.
Yeah, but the thing is, the way that Ryan Spann loses, I mean, he was getting beat up by Sam Alvey. And Antonio Nogueira was beating his ass too. He got knocked out by Johnny Walker. You know,
so the other ones weren't losses, but the way he even wins were not that impressive.
Exactly my point. So, that leads me to believe, why the hell is he only a plus 135 underdog? So,
they're seeing something in Spann.
Right. And, the money's still, I don't know if the money's coming in on Spann. The line is certainly moving away from Anthony Smith right now. So, that's another thing to take into consideration. So, if I'm making a play on this, which I'm probably not, I kind of like Ryan Spann to win inside the distance at plus 200.
Like that. I like that. I like just the prop bet that the fight does not go the distance. But more money.
I think that's completely like
even money or something.
No, it's got to be, it's minus 350.
Oh, man, there's no money on that then. Okay, so then obviously that's why I like that. Okay, there's no money there. So then I think he's right. I think Garrett's right. Spann maybe straight bet and Spann winning inside the distance as the bets. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. No wonder. Yeah, so I was like, oh, perfect. Minus 350. So yeah. Good call. Should be interesting to see though. The winner will definitely be in the thick of things, and the loser I think will be kicked probably back 3 or 4 spots in the rankings.
Oh, for sure. And then like we're talking about, I don't think Anthony Smith really cares about who he's fighting anymore. He's fighting to get a paycheck at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Unless somehow he could easily beat Spann, and then he might say, "Hey, wait a second, I'm still this good. All right, let's figure it out." But short of that, I think you're right. I think he's really loving his commentator spots, and he's probably got some kind of endorsements.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, so that's what we got for this very long episode of the breakdown, because we have 14 fights to go over. So we went in depth, we got to the nitty-gritty, and we were making you some money this weekend. But before we go, I needed to make one more announcement, as I announced that I will be taking a role with a brand called Playmaker. I would be providing combat sports content for their entire social media. And I will be giving out some betting advice. I will be doing some podcasts. I will be giving you some segments on there. So overall spectrum, you'll be seeing this face over at Playmaker. So guys, head over to Playmaker Instagram account. Give it a follow, as well as give it a like on Facebook. Go over on TikTok. Go over on Snapchat. They're there as well. Give it a follow. I will be there providing you breaking news content, up-to-date news on MMA world, as well as viral videos and betting content. All right, but before we go, my man, Colin Crandall, where can everybody find you, and when is the next episode of MMA Power Hour?
Well, MMA Power Hour right there is the place. And you can find us on Fight TV, FITE.tv, and the Hannibal TV. We're in some talks, possibly maybe about going to another platform, but nothing firm as of yet. So as of now, Fight TV and the Hannibal TV on YouTube. And we're every Tuesday night between 6 and 8 p.m. Pacific time. And, I'm doing a bunch of interesting stuff. You can look and see a great reaction video I did with legendary tough guy David Tank Abbott.
Nice.
To the fight that had Anderson Silva and Tito Ortiz, as well as Vitor Belfort against Evander Holyfield. So doing a lot of good stuff. And, just keep track of me, Colin Crandall, on Facebook, and at Colin Crandall 33, I think, which is Colin Crandall MMA on Twitter. You can see me on Instagram. Going to be trying to go live even more. And I'm so glad to be here every Thursday with Garrett Kerman, the fight analyst. Like I said, remember these initials, BMMMA, the best mind, the best millennial mind of MMA is Garrett Kerman. Man, I will say this, I'm Generation X, so I'm not trying to put him 100% above me on that, because I might be the best Generation X mind of MMA, but this guy is amazing. If you're talking about millennial, man, this dude is very likely the best MMA mind of all millennial commentators out there. So Garrett Kerman, an awesome guy, a really nice guy, great East Coast dude, and, just it's awesome to be teaming up with you there. Maybe we'll think of some different name for this show or something that you and me are going to do, or we can keep it with the breakdown or whatever. But anyway, thank you so much, Garrett. Love working with you. You're a good friend, and you're a really great guy. And I'm not lying when I said this guy knows his shit so well, and I'm really glad to work with you, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the kind words, man. I appreciate you coming on the show and being a permanent, part of this, broadcast. I love having you on here. You love the dad jokes. I love your analysis. I love the experience that you bring to the table, and that's why we have you here. We have a great time. We break down some fights. We put money in people's pockets, and that's the goal. All right, guys. So we're sending you guys off. We will see you all cashing out at the ticket window. Until next time, you guys have a great night. Adios. Until next time.
Peace.